And welcome back to another episode of Underdog Podcast. I know it's been a while since I had a podcast, maybe a week or two. I don't know. Who cares? So recently, in my own personal life, um, I made a post on my Facebook Messenger and my Snapchat, and I just let my friends know that hey, I'm going on basically like a sabbatical, a spirit. I told them I'm on a spiritual journey, and that nobody would probably hear from me for a while. I don't know if they understood that. I mean, some of them did. Yeah, I got positive reactions and stuff. But what I mean, understand. I mean, I don't know when I will ever be interactive like that again. Like I used to post often on social media, and then I turned off my social media back in May or June. I don't remember now. And I was thinking the other day, like, hey, I don't know if I'll ever get back on or maybe be as active as I was. I mean, I do things on Twitter, but honestly, I share things on Twitter sometimes, but not really. And like my blog site and this podcast goes to the blog site, and then it goes on Twitter. But I have no interaction on Twitter. Like I post things, but no one ever interacts or says anything, which makes me feel great. I don't know. I don't know. But I've been basically, I mean, I kind of always been on a spiritual journey. And when I say spiritual journey, spirituality, trying to understand the universe, trying to understand myself, trying to understand the being that I am, that I can possibly become as well. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this person I've been listening to, Matthias De Stefano, he he's basically, I think he's from somewhere in South America, but he's been talking for these past few years, and he has a thing called a video series, a show, TV show, whatever you want to call it, on the Gaia Network, and I've been watching that a lot more lately. So shout out to my one friend who put me on the Gaia Network years ago. So I appreciate her and love her. And he's been explaining different things as far as the origin of the universe. And when I say the universe, I don't mean of this dimension. I mean the universe as the whole conscious being that we are, that one supreme conscious being that we are, and we're just one conscious being within a supreme conscious being trying to understand itself and figure out who we can become or yeah. And so I'm on this spiritual journey because I've always been on a spiritual journey. But recently I feel like I need to be more isolated, or in a sense, part of me feels like I don't relate to anybody anymore. I don't relate to my friends and family. I do, but not not in the way that I want to, or I don't know if I'm going through a conscious awakening. Well, I guess we all are pretty much in this universe, in this dimension, on this planet. The human species is going through a conscious evolution, a shift in consciousness, and we're all going through our own spiritual journey, trying to understand ourselves and the universe around us. But I feel like I don't know. I was telling one of my best friends that I love dearly that I was telling her probably like the past. She was probably the first person I told. I was telling her for the past couple months, like I could feel myself starting to. I'm gonna shut down. I'm gonna become isolated. I'm not gonna talk to anybody. And I've been saying that probably since I told her. I think I told her that back in June, and then so she was probably the first person I told. And then I told my mom, and then I made my post the other day on my social media with my close friends and family. I could just feel myself starting to not want to talk, and it's not about anyone in particular. It's not about anyone at all other than me. Like I just don't want to talk. And the only people I feel like talking to are my kids and my mother, and mainly because they help me understand myself for this time being. And everyone I've ever interacted with has always helped me understand myself, which is why I interact with them. through every interaction and experience I had with everyone around me, it has always helped me understand myself. So I always appreciate and I think and I say thank you and I love everyone I ever had an interaction with. And I'm not talking about just a positive interaction. I mean the negative interactions. Because those negative interactions help me see the positive interactions. Those positive interactions help me understand the negative interactions. So the spiritual journey that I'm on, I have always been on, and we all are on. But for right now, I feel I need to be isolated because I don't know. That's the thing. I'm not too sure why I need to be isolated. I feel like I have created reasons in my mind to tell myself to isolate myself. Like I said, I feel like I don't relate to anybody, or maybe no one relates to me, or maybe no one understands what I'm talking about, or maybe I don't understand what I'm talking about. I'm making up these reasons, but I know I can feel it that I need to be isolated in a sense. And not just for a week or two, but maybe for a couple months, maybe for a couple years. I don't know how long this will last. I guess it all depends on what I learned in the during this time frame. But it's not to say I don't want to stop talking to people or stop hanging out with my friends and my family and enjoy times, but I'm trying to get a hold on my emotions and my understanding. I've always had a quest for knowledge, and I always thought that, I guess this kind of ties into what I was talking about with Matthias De Stefano. I don't know why I have a hard time saying that, but it goes back to he's this guy, he has past lives and he breaks down the different dimensions of the whole universe, the nine dimensions. He breaks down the universal laws, seven universal laws, which I'll talk about later. And a lot of things that he's been saying, I understand. And I also feel like, man, how the fuck am I understanding this? I can hear it, I can talk about it, and I'm listening to what he's saying, and I know I'm like, this shit sounds fucking weird. But I understand it. And I know I understand it based on because I'm using my whole life experience of this lifetime that I am currently, you know, in, that it's putting everything, everything's starting to really come together. Like my perspective is really starting to expand. And that's because I'm trying to expand my perspective. Because first it went to trying to understand my ex-wife, and I needed her in my life always because it helped, because trying to understand her helped me try to understand myself. As I try to understand my kids and watch them grow and try to help guide them, understanding them helps me understand myself. My mother, who has basically always been my mentor, her and my guidance, her and my father, understanding them helps me understand myself. And just we all try to find understanding of ourselves through our understanding of everyone around us. So the spiritual journey that I am on, I've always been on. Like I said, Matthias De Stefano guy, he talks about these things, and he has past lives from this reality in this dimension and within other dimensions, and past lives where he was a human and past lives where he was not a human, a different being in a different dimension. And I know that I can't necessarily talk to everyone about this because it might seem odd or strange or whatever. And I don't even think I want to talk about it with anyone other than really myself. I kind of talk about these things a little bit with my mother, and I kind of talk about these things a little bit with my kids, and it's 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 a it's an interesting dynamic because I'm talking to myself, even though I'm talking to supposed different conscious beings. I'm still talking to myself. Let alone we all share the same DNA. So we're all still one being. and let alone we're all still human, so we're still all one being. Let alone we're all still connected through one being living within another being, living within another being. Think about the organisms and the bacteria and the viruses that live inside your body. You're within your own body is a whole separate universe. You possess a universe within yourself, and you project a universe outwards, and a universe outwards is projected towards your inwards. And I'm starting to understand these different concepts and these different perspectives, and my goal has always been to understand the knowledge, the universal knowledge. And I thought I would have to die to get these answers. But the more I look up knowledge just within its own human history and its own dimension, I'm realizing, wait a minute, everything that was to be known or learned is known, has been known and has been learned. I just need to search for it. That's it. And during this time frame that I am currently in, using the internet, the technology, instead of me having to take trips around the world to find these places and stuff, I can find them at my fingertips. Do a search. Either way, it's still the same thing. It's still a search. And I'm changing my vibration, so now I'm opening myself up to find these different vibrations. I'm attracting these things through law of attraction, through the mentalism of the one of the 7 principles of the universe. So it's a very interesting thing, and I'm trying my best to explain it, but even as I explain it, there's almost no words to really explain things. So Matthias de Stefano talks about having 9 dimensions, and he said each dimension is not about, oh, you go to a higher or lower dimension. It's just every dimension is just a different perspective of reality, which helps the being understand itself and try and understand how it can, what it can become and become something different. Because we all feel like something is talking to us or something is guiding us, and that is our higher self. But it's just our higher self within a different dimension guiding us, trying to help us understand what's going on in this dimension. Because all we are trying to understand ourselves and understanding what we can become. And that's it. We're just having an experience. Nothing more, nothing less. You have a negative and positive. That's it. So on this journey that I am on, part of me right now feels like I need to focus more on the inwards. And my association and my relationship with my kids and my mother, those 3 people in particular, helps me focus on the inner understanding of myself, because they are reflections of myself, and I guess my most closest form through basically, DNA of the spirit. DNA is a manifest, or DNA is a manifestation, material manifestation of the spirit. Whew, right? It's a head trip. It's a head trip, and it's a great thing. I don't even really think about this stuff when I feel intoxicated. I think about this thing. I think about these things sober. So I can only imagine if I really was to take like ayahuasca or some other hallucinogenic drug of that form and that nature, what I would feel. Sometimes I feel myself slipping out of this dimension. Like I just don't feel like I want to be here anymore. In the sense of like, I'm just tired of this dimension. But I don't want to leave yet, because I also feel like I haven't mastered it. I haven't mastered this dimension. I definitely haven't mastered the universal laws. I'm just now really coming to an understanding that there's more than one law. And in a sense too, there is no more than one law. It's really just one law. and I'll explain those later. But it's so I don't want none of my I told my I made that message because I don't want none of my friends and family. Like I said, I told one person in particular because she's one I'm very close to and I talk to her all the time. I told her that I feel myself becoming isolated. I won't be saying nothing for a while. So she already knew that was happening, and then I told my mother, and then I made the message and stuff. And I said, it's not towards anybody. It's not about anyone. So it's just about myself. It's just about myself because it's about myself, but everyone around me is also myself. We're all connected. How so? Even though I want to step away and not have daily conversations or weekly conversations or whatever, I still think about everybody all the time. I'm still talking to everybody in my own mind, in my own consciousness, in my own reality that I create inwards. I'm still having conversations with everybody. I'm still thinking about them all the time. So even though, as I say, I'm isolating myself, I know I'm not isolating myself. This morning, I felt depressed. And depression is a part of who I am. And in order to understand the light, I had to go through the darkness. And through the darkness, I find the light because the darkness and the light are just working with each other to help understand each other. And there's a lot of stuff that I'm talking about now is things that I have picked up through watching that TV show, Initiation, A Journey to the Origin of the Universe, which Matthias DeStefano is the host of it. But it's not just about what he has says, but what about things I learned in Buddhism from the Buddha, his teaching, things I learned in Christianity, things I learned it's part of Hinduism, things I learned in different other religions and spiritualities and other people. I'm just trying to put all these things together because everything is connected. It's just until you change your perspective, you won't see different things. And then not only do you change your perspective, but you have to change your perspective and still see from that perspective and other perspectives at the same time and feel it. So I need to have more of a balance with my feelings and going through Buddhism helped me understand that I'm going to suffer. I'm going to feel depressed. I'm going to feel happy. I'm going to feel at peace. I'm going to feel all these things. In fact, this is a journey of of the being that I am is to feel all these things. And I tell my kids, when you feel sad, accept it. It's part of life. We're going to feel sad, but you're also going to feel, the opposite of sad. You're going to feel happy. But you really can't have one without the other. And what you really are looking for is balance. And that's all we're trying to strive for is balance. Balance and understanding. So the knowledge that I'm trying to seek is I'm opening myself up to that vibrational. I'm changing my vibration and attracting that frequency, those other vibrations that opens myself up to this knowledge. And now it's all starting to pour in. And now I want to take the time to understand this knowledge because it's one thing to have the knowledge. The knowledge is the information of the universe. It's another thing to have the wisdom. The wisdom is the understanding. So I can have the knowledge, but I need to also have the understanding of that knowledge. And I really just want to focus on that. So when I made my post on my social media, I'm having a spiritual journey. I really want to focus on instead of trying to explain things to people to see if they understand what I'm saying, I need to understand it myself. So once again, I made these different reasons in my head to be like, oh, I need to isolate or whatever, or I don't feel like I don't relate to anybody, or maybe I'm starting to think everybody thinks I'm weird or I'm crazy. I'm making up all these explanations in my head to really just guide myself to where I need to go, to help myself understand myself and where I need to go and my purpose and my journey in this dimension that I'm on. It's a head trip, right? And as I explain it, you understand what I'm talking about. Whether you think you don't understand at all, you still understand. It's just something you can feel. It's just an understanding that we have, right? It makes sense. I had to get up and grab my phone because I want to make sure I took I have a picture of my phone, a little screenshot or whatever from the TV show I was watching. So to break down, there's 7 universal laws, but in the actuality of it all, there's only one universal law: mentalism, the mind. That is your what you typically know as the law of attraction, if I'm explaining it right. And I encourage everyone to go out and look these things up yourself and have your own experience. Because I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm not saying I'm anything. In fact, there is no right or wrong. It's just perspectives, which is something I probably said before. Everything is just perspectives. Even when I was going on my rants on about my other podcast about the pedophilia elite and stuff, whatever, I'm starting to understand it more and more as they have their role to play. You have your dark beings, you have your light beings, you have your dark entities, you have your negative, you have your positive. We need it all. We need it all. So the first universal law, and really the only law of the universe, is mentalism. Everything is the mind. Everything is a projection of your own mind. Everything around you. And it's interesting because when you think about that, I mean, it literally is. Everything is just a projection of your own mind. You think these things. You think you see this person. You think you hear what they say. You think everything is a thought. And your thought, every time you think of something, you basically are creating a reality of what you think. So law of attraction, I remember the first time I heard about that, my mom had told me about it, and then I'm putting my mom on the spot, huh? I just thought about it. I probably should have said, oh, this person, whatever, but no, it's my mother. Because I want y'all to know who I'm talking about. It's the person I hold dear to my heart. One of the many people I hold dear to my heart. But I want to give credit to her because she started me out like this on this journey. She helped me process a lot of emotions and things I'm going through because she was just trying to understand herself, and she was just spreading out that knowledge as well for her own kids. But everything is of the mind. Everything is mental. You are creating everything is your outward projection is a projection of your inward. Everything is coming from the inner conscious being that you can't even wrap your head around or really visualize. But yet, when the senses that you have to understand this dimension, this third dimension, you is all of your mind. Like I said, you think you hear this, you think you see this, you think you understand this, you think everything is thought. Everything is thought. You think you're having a bad day, you have a bad day. Because everything is thought, and that is the universal law, and that is the only universal law, and everything after that is just a different, basically a sub law of that one universal main law that everything is thought. The conscious supreme being that we are thought about what it could become. So it created realities to understand to see what it could become. Because I am who I am, and who I am will always be who I am. I just am. And who I will become will also be who I am. I'm just on a journey trying to see who I can become at the same time understanding who I am. And everything that we think inwards is rejection of everything that we see outwards, and everything outwards is a rejection of everything we see inwards, which goes into the next law, the law of correspondence. And these 7 laws, these 7 universal laws, line up with the 7 chakras of the human body, of our spirit, or whatever you want to call it. There's almost no words in the English language to even help describe these things. So from the top down, it goes the law of mentalism, law of correspondence, law of vibration, law of rhythm, law of cause and effect, law of polarity, and the law of generation. And sometimes you might hear them say different laws. You might hear them be called universal laws. You might hear them be called hermetic laws, the 7 hermetic laws. Once again, it's just all different words used to explain the same thing. And it seems like there's not even words in English language to even help explain these things in the English language, in a sense. And I'm sure in some other languages too. But the mentalism is a crown chakra. The law of generation is your root chakra. And everything else fills in between. The rhythm is law of rhythm is your heart. And how I'm going to explain it is based on how I heard Matthias de Stefano explain it, but also how I heard other people explain it as well, and kind of but really try to explain it in a way that I can help understanding myself, and in the way I can help explain it. So from the law of mentalism, you go to the law of correspondence, which is your as above, so below. And then your law of correspondence, once again, everything you think inwards is a reflection of everything outwards, corresponding with your outwards, and everything outwards that's projecting inwards is corresponding with your inwards. And mastering these laws is part of reality too. And when you become a master of these laws, you become what the ascended masters, understanding these laws, these principles, or these laws, these universal laws. The law of vibration. As you vibrate, you have in this dimension. You have lower vibrational beings, which will be more of your pets, and not pets, your animals, plants, animal life, things of that nature. You're vibrating they have a lower vibration within the frequency, and then that's why we always talk about we want to raise our vibration. Think about the different terms we're starting to use within our own culture and around the world. I guess, like I said, I focus everything on America. Now, what you hear people say, oh man, this person has bad vibes, or we have negative vibes, we have positive vibes, which is the law of polarity. I don't mean to jump around, but you understand, like, all these things literally explain the universe. You have the law of polarity. Your law of polarity is your positive and negative, your yin and your yang, right? And then in between is your balance, your light and your dark. You need both things. They exist together, which goes back to your law of correspondence. And your vibration, and then your rhythm. Your rhythm is going to, Matthias de Stefano explains it in one way, but for me, in my understanding, your rhythm is the way you swing. Think of a pendulum swinging, that's the rhythm. And then the polarity, you're always going from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, going from the positive to the negative, and you're always swinging. And then what causes that swing, that motion, is what? Cause and effect. That cause and effect is also your master and your slave mentality. Because the master will be your cause, and then your slave will be the effect. And those who understand the cause and the effect, universal law, know when they could be the cause or the master of something, and when they could be the effect or the slave of something. And the cause and effect goes along with the polarity of the negative and the positive. Now, is a cause and effect, is a cause a positive and an effect is negative? No, it's all perspective. And then this constant rhythm. and then there's the vibrations in between. It's a very interesting thing, man. And I encourage everybody to really try to understand it more and understand these universal laws, because it helps you to really put into effect, or really put into perspective, everything around you. So think about cause and effect. We as humans don't really want to admit that, everything around us is our fault. I had a bad marriage. I got divorced. I had a bad marriage. But it took me a long time because all the things that are happening, I was like, oh man, it's not my fault, and then I put blame on her, but then I didn't put, but then I put, well, no, initially I put blame on myself, and then I put blame on her, but I did a combination of blame on her, blame on myself, and then I realized, oh, maybe it's not my fault. But what it was is I was just an effect. She was a cause, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. But to start it all off, I was the cause of it. And then because I knew that I had a I felt like I needed to marry her. I felt like she was part of my journey, which she was. So once again, from the start, me marrying her was a cause, because it wasn't an effect. She wanted to get married, but I helped cause it. And then the effects, I was an effect. I allowed myself to be the effect of negative emotions. And through those negative emotions, I found the positive through those polarities. And all I was doing was just following the rhythm, going from one side of the spectrum to the other side of the spectrum. And that's all I've ever been doing. Trying to understand myself, trying to understand everything around me. Because wisdom is what I really want more than anything else. Because as everything is going on around in my own life, going around the life of of everyone around me, and going on the lives of the people around the world, I just want to understand. And I couldn't understand anything until I started to change my perspective. So now as I'm going to this kind of sabbatical, this retreat, this cocoon, this isolation, cutting myself off from people, I guess I'm not cutting them off. I'm not cutting myself off from people. I'm trying to find the center and balance within myself, like almost like my chakras are coming on the line, and I'm trying to find a more balance. And they were never in line to begin with. But the path that I was on, I'm trying to make sure I stay on and not deviate my whole purpose and role. Because as I say, I don't want to be in this dimension sometimes. Holding on to my kids, thinking about them, thinking about that I am a cause and effect in their own reality, and that I play a role in their own understanding within their own conscious being, which is also my conscious being. Understanding that I play a role in their lives, and the role of my friends and family lives, the role of my parents' lives. It holds me and keeps me grounded in this dimension, which in turn keeps me on the path and helps me play more into the role and the purpose that I have. Because we all have a purpose. There is nothing random. The universal law, cause and effect, there is nothing random. Interestingly enough, you literally find these universal laws everywhere, even in the TV shows you watch. I remember I talked about a TV show on Hulu called Devs, and they use a quantum computer, and they use a quantum computer to create their own reality in a computer simulation. And through those principles of understanding quantum mechanics and stuff, they realized that in their computer simulation that they created, everything was cause and effect. Bam. Universal law, cause and effect. And everything is a cause and effect. I would not understand cause and effect, universal law, without me watching that TV show. And without me trying to And the reason I watch that TV show is because I like sci-fi things, and I understand quantum computers and quantum mechanics and stuff like that is because I've been into theoretical physics and reading about those things for years. So everything leads to another thing, which leads to another thing, because everything is all connected. You just have to understand it. You have to see the perspective of how it all connects. And when I understand more that everything is cause and effect, that everything is connected, I can connect all the dots. But even the way right now, as you're thinking about how you connect the dots, what are you thinking of? You're thinking on a two-dimensional paper. But there's 9 dimensions. So there's different ways you can connect the dots. You just don't understand it. But in order to connect those dots, you have to change those perspectives. And Matthias De Stefano talks about how you don't see, you don't, the different dimensions, not a place you go to. It's what you see. And the only reason I can understand that because there's this channel called Spirit Science on YouTube, and I watched this video called the history of the origins of humans, or the history of humans, or human history. I forget what the actual title name was, but even in that, when he said that, it made me think of how during this movie it talked about how the pyramids were created, and it was saying that the reason why the pyramids appear in our dimension being created from the top down because they were created in a different dimension, literally, and then when they appeared in this dimension, it was from the top down. And things like the Atlantis and Atlanteans, they are in a different dimension. That's why we no longer see them. And see, who the fuck is gonna listen to this shit when I talk about it like that? Like who's gonna listen to that shit? And if you listen to it and you try to keep open mind, you're gonna be like, what the fuck? And I don't blame nobody, man. I don't blame nobody. And I put no blame on anybody when they hear me talk like this. I know they're thinking, what the fuck is he talking about? He kind of lost his mind, and that's okay. And maybe I'm isolating myself to step away from any possible judgment because there is no judgment. And that's a hard thing to wrap your head around because yes, we all think, because even though we say there is no, I'm not, who am I to judge because I made my own mistakes? He should not what is it? He does, do not throw the first stone or something. I forget how the expression goes, but I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Something from the Bible. But when you have these, like, who are you to judge someone else? And then we put judgment off into the hands of God. But there is no God. We are God. We are that one supreme being. So there is no one we're praying to other than ourselves. We're praying to our higher self for help. And that's the whole point because we also need to help ourselves. Goes back to when you're on a plane. You can't save nobody until you save yourself first. What they tell you, you got to put your mask on first before you put your mask on someone else. It's the same thing. In order to help the other person around you, you have to help yourself first. So once again, I'm going to my isolation, my spiritual journey, because I also want to help people around me. But how can I help and first and foremost, I want to help my kids, then my parents. Because cause and effect, right? My parents are a cause of me, my creation, which is guess what? The seventh universal law of generation, law of creation, reality. We're constantly always creating a different reality. We're always creating something. We're always creating. There's always creation. Always. It goes back to the main universal law of mentalism, the law of mind. You think it, therefore you create it. In the Bible, it says what? God spoke the universe to existence. Let there be light. And everything connects. You just have to change perspective, and you have to collect that information, and you have to have that wisdom of understanding to put it all together. But really, you have to kind of focus on that. And that's all I'm doing. I'm trying to focus on that. So, like I said, I created all these different reasons in my head to isolate myself, but really, the goal is just to focus on myself because focusing on myself helps me understand myself and everything around me, and brings me closer to everybody, to that love, because everything is love. Hate is just a lower vibration of love. From the things that I learned along my own understanding, that makes a lot of sense. And guess what? Hate, love, polarity, different ends of the spectrum, in the different ends of the spectrum, positive, negative. But hate is just a what? An effect of not feeling love. Law of correspondence. As above, so below. How I don't feel love, so therefore I'm corresponding with something else, the different polarity. I feel love is positive, and then the other opposite is a negative, hate. But it's not. It's just a lower vibration of love because I feel the lack of love from this other being. And everything starting to really make sense to me. And I really just want to focus on that because once it all starts to make sense to me, then I understand exactly what it is I'm doing. Then I understand exactly what everything is. Because I think we all kind of have an agreement that we know there's something guiding us. There's something else to this dimension, this reality, this universe that we can't explain, but we understand it without any explanation. I can sense a physical or mental or emotional attraction from another being next to me because I understand the physical and emotional attraction myself. We can feel the love for someone because we feel the love for ourselves. We can feel the hate towards someone because we can feel the lack of love for ourselves. The shit is really intriguing to me. So I just really want to focus on that. But while at the same time, I'm also interacting with this dimension. So I'm trying to become a master of the universal laws and a master of this dimension all at the same time while I'm trying to experience this dimension. And you would think, oh, maybe I don't have enough time. But I don't have enough time. I have endless amount of time. And whether I have time in this reality, it doesn't matter because guess what? Dharma. I just get reborn. Universal law 7, law of generation. Born and I die, get born again. I die, get born again. Die, get born again. Death is a negative thing, right? Life is a positive thing. You go through a rhythm, swinging back and forth between that death and life, that and then that generation, that creation reality, that born and reborn. Because what cause and effect? What if you choose the life that you have? Because in order for you to understand yourself and figure out what you can become, guess what? You have to go through shit that you don't like. I had to go through a divorce. I had to go through not feeling love to understand what love is. I had to go through understanding I need to love myself first and foremost. And not in that materialistic, selfish way, but a different love, a level of understanding that comes from the inner, your insides, that spiritual, that spirit, that emotion, that that mental being that we are. You have to understand that love from within yourself, and then it's projected outwards, and then it comes back to you. Correspondence. It is really just a great life. It's a great understanding, and I definitely feel like in this life, I'm always trying to be more positive, because when I was younger, I would have temper tantrums. I had anger problems. I would get mad. I would hurt other kids. But at the same time, I always enjoyed it. Even now, when I think about it, I still feel some enjoyment from hurting individuals. Whether it's mentally, physically, emotionally, I feel enjoyment from it. But hurting other individuals or other beings is what? A negative thing. So it lets me know that in past lives, what we always talk about, me and my one friend, we always talk about, we're like, man, we must have been shitty in the past life because we're feeling the effects of everything that's happened. We call it our karma, but karma is different in the Western culture. Karma is not what we think of as cause and effect. Karma is just your journey. Let me look up the definition because I don't want to mess it up. So I searched it up on Google real quick, and it says the definition is from the Oxford Languages, I guess the dictionary or whatever. But in Hinduism and Buddhism, karma is the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existence. Just cause and effect. Cause and effect. And you're going in polarity. Because if you're a negative, then you swing in the rhythm, you swing through the positive. I felt like I was a negative individual in my past lives. So now, in this lifetime, I'm transitioning more towards a positive. And then within the next lifetime, I will find a balance. Or maybe within this lifetime, I find a balance. Who knows? That's the beauty of it all. Because to experience it all, to have this understanding, is what I'm feeling. And that's the great thing about this dimension, is that we have all these feelings. We get to feel all these different things. No matter what, everything is just a thought. But our feelings are just thoughts. I think I feel this way. I think I love this person. I think I hate this person. I think I understand what the fuck I'm talking about. I think no one understands what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter. I'm just having this experience. But through this experience, I'm understanding who I am and understanding who I can become and who I will be and who I am and who I will be is all the same fucking thing. Just an endless amount of possibilities and realities. It's a head trip, man. This shit is wild. And it's like, it's so, I don't know. It's just, there are no real words to even explain it to me in this dimension or in the English language or whatever. It's just so exciting. So like when the coronavirus and the everything started to break out and stuff, whatever, and we had the lockdowns, I was telling people like, hey, these are exciting times. And I could tell my friends was kind of like, man, what the fuck? You know, like kind of like, man, people are dying. We're locked down. These are not exciting times. These are exciting times because once again, we get wrapped up in the negative and the positive. But it's like you need it all. You need it all. Cause and effect. I'm able to have this understanding and stuff because of what has been going on in the world. And part of our own human evolution, we're having that conscious awakening. For we're all, we all experienced a moment where we was asleep. Now we hear everybody say woke. We're all being awoken. Everybody's woke and stuff. We're all having this conscious experience and stuff. And that's all it is. And we're trying to have an understanding, and we're all waking up in our human evolution. And this is probably what? Who knows? The fifth, sixth thousands fucking times that happened in human history? Like, because human history goes back way longer than what we know. And I'll talk more about that as more as the information I get from this show and then from other things and putting it all together, because I've been watching a lot of shit these past few decade plus whatever, and everything's just been leading me towards this moment. And then this moment leads me towards another moment. And then another moment leads me towards another moment. And then I bring it all back around again to this moment. It's a head trip, man. It's a head trip. It's something wild, man. It's really fucking wild. I had to do another podcast where I break down and try to explain what Matthias de Stefano was talking about as far as the 9 dimensions. I have an understanding of the first dimension, second, third, fourth, and then I have to go back and listen again to have more of an understanding of the fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and ninth dimensions. And then as I say that, which makes me wonder, I must have been in those other dimensions before. But they're not a hierarchy. Isn't that? See, even in our sense of how we say dimensions, we number them all 1 through 9. And but just because we number it off 1 through 9 does not mean 1 is at the beginning and 9 is at the top, or 9 is at the beginning and 1 is at the top. They're nothing. They're just different perspectives. They're just different shapes. They're just they create geometrical shapes like the tetrahedron and things of that nature. They're just different understandings. That's all it is. One is not better than the other. It's just when you're in when you're in one dimension, you just have a different perspective. In this dimension, we're in the third dimension, so we have the body, mind, and soul. Our mind, soul, and spirit. I forget how it goes, or which way he explained it. But we have all these tools, these senses, to help us understand this dimension, because it's all mental. But in this dimension, we need to, whatever we project outwards is projecting back towards us inwards. And science and theoretical physics is one way of understanding things in this dimension. Because science is just a study of really the universe, of this reality. And our science right now to date is really not like it's advanced to us right now, but there's other things throughout our recent human history, thousands and thousands of years, that goes further back that we don't know, that has been wiped away. And we can talk about the different other beings that are in this dimension that are jumping back and forth between different dimensions. And as you hear me say that, you might think, oh, what the fuck? Like, different beings jump back and forth between different dimensions. But when you watch a scary movie or horror movie, that's exactly what's happening. Beings jumping back and forth between different dimensions. The spiritual being or demonic being. And I used to think that these demonic beings were from lower dimensions, but they're not. They're just from a different dimension. There is no lower or higher. And when Matthias explained that, I knew right away. Like, I was like, man, when he explained it, I was like, wait a minute, that makes so much sense, because I never understood how one dimension could be higher than the other, or we need to reach a higher level. Because to me, that only makes sense in this dimension, and that only makes sense as a human being, because we put everything in a high graphical order, where a hierarchy where, oh, you're at the bottom of the pyramid and you got to reach the top of the pyramid, but that's just part of this dimension, is part of our being as humans, because we're always trying to strive for something. But really, there's nothing to strive for other than the understanding of ourselves. And Matthias breaks it down into why we have this biological need to push towards the light. That goes back to our connection with plant life and throughout our human evolution and stuff. And when we were plants, we go towards the light because the light was our source of supply and food. And so we still have within our own DNA and our own biological material, because everything in this universe is biological material manifested, and the building blocks of atoms and stuff, and it's all connected. Man, I should leave it at that and let you kind of wrap your head around that for a little bit. But it's very interesting, and it's something I really, like I said earlier, it's something I really want to focus on. And I think about me not talking to my friends or family members and stuff like that. But I've always done that. I've always done that. I always just going into isolation. And like I said, it's part of me being depressed. But part of my depression, I also feel like part my depression is part of my journey as well. I need to feel depressed, and it sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you, it sucks. Like there's times where I don't want to ever feel depressed again, but I also know that that's not part of my journey in this life. That I have to feel depressed, and I have to have thoughts of suicide at times. I have to have thoughts of wanting to die and losing hope. To go back to cause and effect, I had to marry the woman I married in order to have the kids that I have, because I already chose this life before I was born. I chose all this to happen to me, and I'm really am accepting that I really have chosen all these things to happen to myself before I even was born. I chose this life. I chose to be depressed. I chose to have these negative emotions to help me understand the positive emotions, because I can't understand the positive without these negative emotions. It's like I can't understand the beauty of life without wanting to kill myself sometimes. And I can't understand the role that I play without knowing that I know I can't kill myself either. I have to be here. I have to play the role and play out my purpose, because we all really do have a purpose. And when I was a kid, and I would go to church with my aunt and my grandmother, and I would think about, they'll say, "Oh, everyone has a purpose," or you're doing God's work, or God has a plan for everybody. But I never understood, like, why does God have a plan for everybody? Like who the fuck is God to have a plan for everybody? But now that I know that I am God and God is me, that I have a plan for myself. You have a plan for yourself. I have a plan for you. You have a plan for me. It's all going together. Nothing does nothing without it making sense. There is no randomness. There really is no randomness. And when you start to change your perspective, it's all like, aha, I get it. And guess what? That is nirvana. That moment of that, aha, I get it. Because we all think of enlightenment as, I remember thinking that I'm ascending to this light being, this ascended master and stuff. But enlightenment, when the Buddha became enlightened, he didn't fucking go away. He just stayed here. He still was alive, still passing on his teachings and stuff. He still got angry, he still had different things. It's just that he understood, like, like I get it. Enlightenment is just a level of understanding, like, I understand this shit. And that's why I feel like I'm moving towards, like, hey, I think I get what the fuck is going on, man. Right? As the moment when I told you, look at what I just did. Look how I just switched polarities, the rhythm, the negative and the positive, how I just changed my vibration just within these few minutes. I just talked to you about me wanting to kill myself, depression, and everything. And then I just switched to the positive. because you can't have one without the other to help you understand what the fuck is going on. And I always felt like my purpose in life, no, I always felt like I wanted to do something to help other people out. And once again, I'm fulfilling my own purpose in a way that I ain't even understood. But just going through my own journey, me speaking these words, me speaking this into existence, me using the universal law of mentalism, now I'm putting out this message. Someone, one person, one person out there is going to hear this message and it's going to help them. And it all started with my own cause and then their effect. And it started with me understanding myself and using the law of correspondence and putting it out there and then reflecting back on myself inwards. And me, with the main and only universal law, mentalism, me just thinking about all this shit. Man, so this podcast goes back again to what I was saying originally. Like, I'm just saying shit, man. I'm just thinking out loud. And letting those thoughts run its course. And me stringing along the domino effect, the cause and effect of me going, saying these words. Because, it's not just about the words you choose. It's about how you say them. It's about everything. And it's about the feeling that goes with those words. So it's a lot to kind of understand. But you'll get it. We all get it. We all understand it. And I don't know how many lives I've had in this human experience. Hell, I could have endless numbers of fucking lives in this human experience. I could have endless a number of lives in just this dimension alone. I could be on like my fucking trillionth life in this dimension. And I'm just now finally understanding it. And I can have another life after this to put it all together. I don't fucking know. And it doesn't matter. Because wherever happens, happens. And I'll get it. And I'm happening. And here's the fucked up thing is, it's all happening at once. Because in the fourth dimension, you are the master of time. And that's what science says, theoretical physics says. In the fourth dimension, there is no time. So we experience time all at the same time. What the fuck did I just say? We experience time all at the same time. And see, in the third dimension, we wrap our head around time as linear. Past, present, future. But you ever see that movie Arrival? They said when the aliens had came, they experienced time in a different format. That it happens all at once. All these movies I ever watched was just cause and effect of me trying to understand. And I was just going on along with, I feel like this is a good movie. But I let my higher self guide myself. Because I know I need help. And who I'm getting help from? Myself. We all have that what? That guardian angel, right? See, it's all this that we know of has already been thought of and put out there. You just have to search for it. But when you change the vibration, you open yourself up to a higher level of vibration within this frequency, then it all starts to have the law of correspondence. It all starts to come to you. And you put that thought out there. Do the law of attraction, to the universal law, the law of mentalism, the law of the mind. That everything is just a creation of your own mind. Law of generation. Everything is a creation, a reality, of the reality that you choose to create. And just the simple fact that I sat here and made this podcast, I'm creating a whole nother reality. And I can feel myself starting to jump between different realities, between different consciousness, and I'm starting to remember these different realities at the same time. And guess what we call that? The Mandela effect, right? We keep thinking, you're having false memories. You don't really remember this and stuff. No, you do remember it because it's a whole different realities happening at the same time. And just a simple fact of you thinking these things is creating these different realities. I was watching the show. I seen something on Twitter the other day was talking about how the the chloroquine was used to be the cure for this new coronavirus that was in this TV show called The Dead Zone. And not even to go into all that and go down that road, but I'm just using that as an example because I could tell I'm switching, my consciousness is jumping between different realities, and I'm starting to really pick up on that. Once again, I say shit like this, who the fuck is gonna listen to this shit and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Hell, you might not make it to the end of this podcast to be like, man, I turned this motherfucker off. What the fuck is he talking about? And that's okay. That's okay because I'm saying this for myself to help me understand myself. Because sometimes you just need to say shit out loud because who you talking to? Think about it. Whenever you talk, who are you actually talking to? Are you really talking to anybody? Or are you just really always talking to yourself? How often do we always feel like no one's listening? We're just talking to ourselves because no one responds or there's no conversation. But in reality, hell, no one exists outside of yourself anyway, so you are always just talking to your fucking self. But you don't want to feel like you're talking to yourself because you feel like you're going crazy. So here you are thinking up a reality of where you're talking to other people. So you don't feel like you're going crazy talking to yourself. But really, you are just talking to yourself. You're just talking to different versions of yourself. Think of a person that's schizophrenic. There's a bunch of different consciousness, a bunch of different realities going on, and they're tapping into this stuff. But they're just not conscious. One conscious is not conscious of the other consciousness. So to go back to that show I was talking about, I was telling my mother about the show, and she was like, "Oh man, I don't remember that show at all." I was like, "Huh?" And I caught myself in another moment of experiencing, realizing I'm jumping to different realities because I distinctly remember the only reason I know about that show is because she used to watch that show, and she's like, "Oh no, I don't watch, I don't remember that show." And it's not to say that maybe she just forgot. No, because we don't ever really forget anything in this reality. We just kind of put it off aside. We just don't think about it no more, and we don't really understand how to access that part of our mind. Sometimes I don't think we ever really forget anything, as as long as we are in this reality, this being, this human experience. I don't think we forget anything. We forget when we are born, but we choose to forget when we are born because you can't learn anything if you already know all the fucking answers. So in order to learn something, you have to experience it. What? Like it's the first fucking time. But everybody plays a role in their purpose in anyways. Because so when I asked my mom, did she remember that? She said she don't remember it at all. And I know her memory is good. She will remember TV shows. And then and not even that. The TV show came on the Sci-Fi Network, and I know she watched the Sci-Fi Network. Like she would just have it on all day. She would watch the different shows on the Sci-Fi Network. We're all connected, right? I watch sci-fi shows for my mother. It's a connection. We all are each other. We're all one being. So I know that she doesn't remember that show, or she says she doesn't really remember that show. But I'm like, I know I watched that show because she had it on the TV. She was watching it. She talked about it before. I never watched that show. I just know that she had it on. And now here's even more of a head trip. What if it was just on the Sci-Fi Network and she just wasn't there right at the moment? That's possible too, right? But I know the house I grew up in. I understand. And I understand the predictions and the patterns of which the people's lives that I grew up with, my parents. If that show was on and that TV was on, she was probably watching that show at some point in time. Now, she probably didn't watch it religiously. So, once again, you can say that maybe she doesn't remember. But then, this is not the first time this has happened. In fact, this keeps happening a lot frequently. The more I open myself up to the understanding and the possibility that all these realities are happening at the same time, and I can literally jump between different realities. And whether I'm intentionally doing it or not, it's happening. So now I need to figure out, how do I intentionally jump to different realities? Or maybe every time I think it, I jump into a different reality. Every time I change my vibration, I vibrate into a different reality. See, these universal laws literally are governing everything. And look how easily I just plucked them and picked which ones that goes along with what I'm talking about. And the Mandela effect go down to quantum theory or quantum mechanics, because when it goes to subatomic particles, these particles don't exist until a conscious being observes them. You are the conscious being, so your thought creates these particles and the reality around you. Science is telling you this, right? Buddhism has been telling that for thousands of years. The agnostic Christians that you don't ever hear about, they talked about these things too. Christ, or the person we call Jesus Christ, talked about heaven was not an outward projection, but an inward projection, but an inward reality. That heaven was not a place you go to. Heaven is a place that you are, and that you change your vibration, your frequency, and you begin to see. The hell that you think exists only exists because you created it to exist. How do you know you're not in hell right now? How do you know that the reality that you create is not a creation of your own projection because you decided to punish yourself to see what the fuck would happen if you punish yourself? And it's hard to wrap people's head around that, because some child right now is getting raped. Some child is getting tortured. Some person is getting tortured. Somebody is literally eating another human being. There's a lot of what we perceive as bad things going on, but we're just a conscious being having all these different experiences trying to understand itself. That's it. That's it. In order to understand itself, you gotta go through all the different experiences. And it sucks because when something bad happens, we feel like, man, oh, it's bad. But once you kind of get over the idea that no one really dies, that there is no death, there is no life, we just are, then it's, you no longer, you kind of leave those things. But at the same time, you kind of leave that philosophy, you kind of leave that idea. You have a much different understanding. You have a different perspective. But at the same time, once I kind of go on towards a different perspective, I pull back because I want to stay in this dimension because I like what's going on here. This is kind of interesting to me. Like, it's kind of interesting. What the fuck is going on? And I know in the past life, I felt that loss. I felt that hate. I felt that anger. And in this life, I felt that loss. I felt that hate. I felt that anger. I have not experienced close death to me yet. But I know it's going to happen. I know at some point in this lifetime, my parents are going to die. My kids are going to die. Right? And it sucks. But that's part of the journey. Hopefully my kids die after I die. But there's also a possibility that they die while I'm still alive. And as I think about that, and as I say that, I can feel those feelings, which makes me wonder, and which makes me think that I felt this feeling before of my kids dying. Which means that in a different reality, I did experience that. Because I'm having multiple realities, or what we call what? Parallel universes, right? And every choice we make creates a different parallel universe, or creates an alternate timeline. So somewhere in a parallel universe, in a different reality, my kids are dead right now. My parents are dead. Everyone around me is dead. And I'm left alive. And I can feel that. But it's not part of my journey right now. I've already experienced it. Now I need to figure out, now I'm trying to experience different things that I'm choosing to experience because it's a part of my journey of me understanding. But it all goes back to the universal and only universal law, the mentalism, the law of the mind. Me thinking these things creates all these different realities and everything into existence. I am you, you are me. And it will always be like that. And we are always the same person. Think about all the people that you hang out with, that you talk to. What you talk to them, why? Because they're like you. They remind you of yourself. Now thinking of the people that you hang out with, that you talk to, you're like, man, why the fuck do I talk to this person? I don't really like this person. But because they are also you, they are yourself. They help you understand yourself. There's friends that I talk to that I don't really like talking to sometimes, but I talk to them because I know that they're part of my experience. That for some reason, I know I need to have this relationship with them, to have this understanding with them and talk to them about things. It's a great life, man. It's a great life. The negative, the positive, it's a great life. It's a great dimension that we're in. All the dimensions are great. To experience it, to feel all these different things. It's pretty fucking awesome, man. And once you start to understand that, it's endless possibilities, things that you can't even, there's shit that I still can't even think of right now. And that's what's so wonderful. Like, there's literally things I can't even think of that are possible. But I can't even wrap my consciousness around it right now. But I don't know, give me a couple more years, I'll probably be able to wrap my consciousness around that shit. But this is my spiritual journey, and you guys are part of it. And I'm a part of yours. And this podcast is a digital recording of my journey. So the spiritual journey that I've been on, that I'm saying that I'm going into, that I told my friends that they probably won't hear from me for a while, for a few months, maybe a couple years, I don't know. But they're all part of the spiritual journey. And I'm part of theirs. I love y'all, right? And and it's crazy when I say that, because other people in my life would be like, what the fuck? This man, no, Damien doesn't love no, he loves people, but not like that. He don't love strangers stuff. A couple years ago. A couple years ago, probably a few months back, like last year or something, I couldn't wrap my head around loving people that I'd never met before. But now I'm starting to feel love for everybody around me, even though I don't like them. And then you literally can have all these emotions and have exist all at the same fucking time. It's fantastic, man. Yeah, man. It's just an awesome feeling. All at the same time, I'm depressed as fuck, and and when I get off here, I'll probably go back into depression. Or do I go into depression, or do I go into love, or am I just feeling all these things at the same time? And I'm just constantly changing my vibration, and the rhythm at which I change my vibration. Does it take me 5 minutes to change my vibration and then go back to? Because that's rhythm, going to and then going back. Or does it take me 5 years? Who knows? But I'll leave y'all with that, man. I want y'all to process that and all that good shit. And if I sounded super fucking weird to you, that's cool too. I dedicate this and all my podcasts and everything I do to everybody. My friends, my families, my loved ones, the people that I don't know yet that I love, the beings that I'll never meet in this conscious reality, or in this reality that I'm experiencing, or this human form that I'm experiencing right now, in this lifetime that I'm experiencing. The beings that I will never meet, I still love them because I love myself. Right? And if you're confused as fuck, that's cool too. You'll get it. I get it. So if I get it, I know you'll get it. Because I'm not smart. I'm not anything. I'm just me, which is you. And we are one. So until next time.